This next question, I'm going to combine these two because they're kind of the same question, and I'm going to give this one to Anna. Tony King of Cheese asks, a question for you, Gythias. How would you suggest getting closer to the gods? Ritual, or is there something more? And Nick asks, how can a feller work on getting closer to the Aces specifically, or a Lady the Ace? I'm assuming the gods and the goddesses. Gythia Plord, could you answer that for us?
Ritual is great. It's not the only way, and it's not what I would recommend actually for the first thing. The first thing that you need to do is acknowledge that your gods and goddesses are real. You need to speak with them as they're real because they are. It's not just an idea. They're not just some archetype. They are actual beings. If you want to start making that connection, start talking to them as if they're real because they are. And once you start doing that, start reading about them. Some of the information's a little bit hard to find, but do your best. Do your research, do your homework. Start finding ways to connect. It can be in ritual, but it can also be just going through the woods and thanking them for that. It can be an activity that you enjoy and keeping them in mind.
Thank you, ma'am. This next one I'm going to give to Gythia McNallen because I think that she will be able to answer this very well. Growing up in Christianity, women were seen in a much different way. What is something you want our menfolk to know about women in Asatru?
That's interesting. Well, certainly growing up in the Catholic Church, there was no role at all for women except to be a nun. And gee, what kind of a life was that, right? And I know it changed. I lived through Vatican II and saw the big changes of the priest turning around, facing everybody. Everything was in English, and then they started bringing all the lay people. But I think what's really special in Asatru is the way that all of the women are involved in whatever level they want to participate. They're encouraged to continue learning on their own about the gods, to choose their own gods. I mean, when we do Summel and talk about a simple ritual, everybody takes part. You all honor, everyone honors a god or goddess, and everybody honors an ancestor. And then you've got the third one. We're all learning together. It's definitely community when we do that. And the women have every potential for learning as much as the men do. I really recommend that, again, when we talk about the gods and goddesses, that Spawn, Harrell, and Matt, and having their Victory Never Sleeps, go into some really interesting things about all the layers of the gods. We tend to look at them superficially, but there's so much to be learned about our gods and goddesses. But our women are, I think we basically live Asatru. We are Asatru. That is one definition. We are Asatru. We live our lives totally by Asatru, by our standards, and knowing that we are connected to our gods, that we're descended from them, and through our descendants, through our physical lineal ancestors, we have every right to be here and feel powerful from that knowledge. We should all women should feel empowered being an Asatru, because there are no barriers set up for us. So I think the men need to know that they've got great potential in the women of Asatru.
Thank you, ma'am. All right.
Can I add something to that?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Something I would like the men to know is that we, as women, we are here to build with you. We're not trying to compete. We want to build this together with you. Like, you are our other half, and we are yours. So we want to be here, and we want to be here with you.
Perfectly said.
Nice.
Daniel Young asks, can you explain the role of a horn bearer? Katie, could you take this one for us?
So this is something I feel very strongly about too. When I was Theodish, and it comes back to that a lot because that was my starting point, and that built a very specific foundation for me in a lot of the way I have formed my worldview, and the worldview being the way I view the world through our faith. And just about the only important role that Theism had for women was that of the horn bearer. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to give you an example from the Lord for a few minutes, and I can't remember which one it was, but there's one story in particular. It might have been Beowulf, but don't quote me on that. Where the Lady of the Hall is the horn bearer, and it shows you in the story, it shows you how she works the room as a frith weaver. She carries the horn, and when a new person enters her hall, it's her job to greet that person and to offer them the horn, to offer them the hospitality of their hall. And that creates a frithful bond right then and there. I am giving you the gift of my mead and the gift of my hospitality. And when you drink that mead, you are accepting it. You are agreeing that you are going to participate in the frith of that hall. And then you see, like, there are two gentlemen in the hall at this feast day who are not on good terms with each other, and she is able to walk up to the two men and pacify it simply by being there, because men are supposed to behave better around women. When there's a lady of the hall in front of you, especially if she's carrying a horn, you behave better, because it's a holy thing. That horn, the horn is our horn is our receptacle for all of the things, all of our gifts to the gods, and it is often the receptacle in which those gifts are returned. So the woman who carries the horn is extremely important, because she is carrying the holy mead. She's carrying that holy horn. And she is, by her very nature, and that is that of a frith weaver, because we are all inherently, as women, frith weavers. Some of us are better at it than others. And by that, I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, there are women out there who are like the antithesis of frith, who sow discord wherever they go. Those are not our women. Thankfully, our women have chosen to be above that kind of behavior. But a woman is a frith weaver by nature, and when she's holding that horn, she uses her frith. She's connected to that horn. And one of the things that's really important about a woman who carries a horn, particularly during Sumble, and this is where it gets really important for me, when a woman is carrying that horn, she is using her frith at all times. When somebody is extremely upset while raising the horn to a family member who is deceased, if they get really upset because they're feeling some kind of way about it, she can reach out and put a hand on that shoulder. And sometimes that hand on that shoulder, or just that light little touch, is enough to let that person know, I'm here for you. I can help you. You're not alone. And sometimes that's all it takes. Like, I've done that before with somebody who got so upset. They were just really sad. Their father had just passed away, and you could tell he could barely talk. He was so upset, and I reached out and I put my hand on his arm, just a casual little, like, it's okay, I'm here, you're not alone. And we became really good friends just from that little interaction, because I'd like to think he could feel it, but he certainly knew that it was like a genuine moment, I guess. But that's a form of magic or energy manipulation or frith. There's also the concept of masculine energy versus feminine energy. Masculine energy is a lot more, has a lot more friction to it. Men are the doers. They are the, not that women don't do. I always mess this part up when I'm explaining it because I forget the right word for it. But men have a very different energy. I often say it's a chaotic energy, but I don't like calling that because when we think of chaotic energies in Asatru, we think of things that are a lot more negative than masculine energy.
Men have a very penetrating energy, where women have a very receiving energy. Men are very penetrating and very powerful and very forward motion and very strong and forward movement.
Right.
Right.
It's true, but it's also, it can be a little bit, their energy can be very not overbearing. Overbearing's not quite the right word, but it can sort of take over a thing. It's strong. And the woman who's carrying the horn, her job is to make sure that when a man hands the horn back, because we always, during our high symbols, the woman carries the horn, and the woman is always touches that horn before the next person gets it. And the reason why that happens is because by holding that horn, her frithful energy, it doesn't erase what that man put into the horn, because that's not the point. We're putting our energy into that horn because we want it there, but what it does is it sort of neutralizes it. It takes that like super frictive energy and turns it into not passive, but it just helps settle it down so that the next person
kind of like you're calming the neutrons and protons of that masculine energy.
Right. Yes. But no, she takes the horn, that energy becomes, it transforms into something else. It goes into the horn. And when you give that horn to the next person, it is now ready to receive that person's energy and that person's wishes and that person's words. So it doesn't empty it. It doesn't erase it. It just alters it so that it's ready for the next person, and that's extremely important. And it can be a lot of hard work. Any woman on this call who has ever carried the horn around a very energy filled symbol knows that it can be very draining sometimes, because you use a lot more energy carrying that horn around than you think you do. It's one of the reasons why we like to have our Gythias do it whenever we have them, because we literally have been trained to deal with that kind of thing. Something I like to do that I'm sort of low key and also not low key because I keep talking about it on all of these calls, I like to push is the idea that on the third round of Symbol, we don't choose a Gythia to carry the horn. We use that to honor a woman who has been really awesome in some way. So, because the third round is the round where we toast the living, we can toast ourselves, we can toast our folk, but it's kind of a lighter, more energetic and round. It's I like to choose a woman who's done something really awesome, because even though I just said it's a lot of hard work to carry the horn, it's also an incredible honor to be allowed to carry that horn, because you are literally becoming a tool in the ritual of Symbol. And Symbol absolutely is a ritual by itself. It is an important ritual, one of our most important rituals. So being allowed to be a tool or a very important role in Symbol is an honor. Just recently at the Njorshof dedication, Miss Pam got to carry the horn around third round. And that's because every single person who in her kindred who helped make the Njorshof dedication possible turned and pointed to her and said, she gets it. She earned it. Unanimously across the board. And she tried to deny it, but I didn't let her. She was, she tried to say she wasn't awesome, but we all know she is. I've asked Heather Young to carry the horn before, because she's worked her butt off to make Thorshof successful. So the horn bearer is it's a very important role, and it's one of the most honored roles that a woman can have. By no means the least role, or the only role, though, like some other shoots of our faith would make you think. Sorry, that was a really long answer, but I told you I was passionate about it.
That's all right. You
That
were
was great.
thorough. You did a good job. I would like to see of our folk, a request of our folk. Number one, be courageous and be strong. Be brave for your gods. Be brave for your ancestors. And be brave for your folk and for your church. That would be my first request. My second request would be to be generous and strong. Being generous to your church is not just giving money to your church. When you donate $10 to Odenshof, you're donating $10 to Odin. When you donate $10 to Thorshof, you are donating $10 as a gift to Thor. The same with Balder, the same with Njord. A gift to the Asatru Folk Assembly is indeed a gift to the gods themselves. We are not out here driving Porsches, buying $40 million homes. We're buying hofs for our gods. We are gifting our gods. And obviously, our gods are gifting us in return. This many times so far. Go to the websites and also go to runestone.org and go into, I believe it is in the donation section, and you can donate to any of our hofs. You can donate to the Folk Services Fund. You can donate to the South African Fund. I bet we've got a link for that on here as well. There we go. You can also donate to Sigerheim. Sigerheim is a dream that will become a reality. You can also donate to the Asatru Academy. That is something that will always be amazing and build to the future of your children. So when you ask what I would ask and request of my folk, be courageous, be strong, and be generous. Ashley asks, what makes a great Gythia? We'll do a roundtable on that one. How about Anna first? Anna, what makes a great Gythia?
Genuine love for your folk, genuine faith in your gods, and then the combination, having the faith in your folk that you can bring them to know the gods like you do. And patience, and sometimes being willing to be really annoying with people.
Awesome. Sheila?
Wow, that was wonderful. That was succinct and beautiful, but also know your people, know who they are, know what their needs are, know what their pleasures are, their joys, who's their family, what are their challenges, and be there for them no matter what.
Katie?
I pretty much have to reiterate what Anna and Sheila have already said. Our folk there's no point in being a Gythia if you have no one to help. There's no point in being a Gythia if you're sitting all by yourself in the woods. It's great. You're honoring the gods and stuff, but what's the point if you're not helping your folk? You need love them, know them, and we should always be striving to help them and to help ourselves be better. So it's all about the folk, yo.
I would say time and dedication. If you do not have the time, you need to learn how to bend physics to make it. Being a Gythia is the most important thing that you will do. If you ask me what I do, I won't tell you how I pay my bills. I will tell you that I'm a Gythia of the Asatru Folk Assembly. I am a priestess of Balder, and I serve my folk in my church. That is what I do. Asking me how I pay my bills is an entirely different story. What comes first is that I'm a Gythia of the Asatru Folk Assembly. So if you can't find the time, you need to bend physics and make the time and have the dedication not only to the folk, but also to the gods. We are the priests and priestesses of the Aesir, and we can never forget that. That is our primary services to the gods, and then to our church and to our folk. So dedication and time.